They came to see a champion, but they left early, and who could blame them? The Eagles looked like a team still trapped in last season's highlight reel, while the Bears turned Black Friday into a blueprint for how to beat Philly. Run the ball, control the clock, and punch the vaunted offense in the mouth. Chicago left Lincoln Financial Field with a 24-15 win that felt less like an upset and more like a correction. Reuters. From the first whistle, it was obvious the Bears wanted to make this a physical game. Chicago rushed for 281 yards, steamrolled the line of scrimmage, and handed the Eagles a diet of long, exhausting drives they could not answer. DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai each finished with 100-yard games, the first time the Bears had two backs eclipse that mark since 1985, an old-school statement that Philly had no immediate plan to match. The Bears' recipe was refreshingly simple. Dominate up front, shorten the opponent's possessions, and let the defense win the chess match. Windy City Gridiron. You remember the Tush Push as the Eagles' go-to hammer last season. Automatic, unstoppable, a near-guaranteed inch or two. On Friday, it snapped like a twig. On a 3rd and 1 around the Bears' 12-yard line, Jalen Hurts tried the familiar shove, but Nashon Wright managed to scrape around, strip the ball, and dive on the fumble. Instead of the Eagles getting a fresh set of downs and a momentum flip, Chicago got a takeaway and a psychological dagger. That single play symbolized the night. Expectations met resistance and lost. SI, the offense never found a groove. Philly managed only 2 first downs before halftime and finished the half with a pathetic 9 minutes of possession. A.J. Brown did what he could. He had big reception moments and finished with gaudy individual numbers, but the supporting mechanics were missing. Hurts had some swings, 2 touchdowns to Brown and a pair of flashes of what they can be. But he also threw an interception and the team missed an extra point. A small error that turned into a 9-point hole late when the Bears put the game away. The offense's timing and execution were inconsistent enough that even the home crowd gave up before the final whistle. ESPN.com Nick Sirianni's defense of his staff felt measured but thin when the tape is replayed. He insisted Friday that he wasn't taking play calling away from Kevin Patullo, saying the problems were broader than a single voice on the headset. That's a defensible position. Coaching isn't always about swapping one name for another, but at some point the practical fix has to match the public diagnosis. When an offense that looked unstoppable a year ago can't sustain a drive in the first half, fans and media will demand something more than patience. NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. Turnovers and execution were the difference makers. Chicago converted sustained drives into points. Philadelphia left opportunities on the field. The Bears' late fourth-quarter touchdown to Cole Kmet and an earlier Monangai score were textbook finishes to long possessions that bled clock and killed Philly's chance to mount a comeback. Even when Hurts found life and connected on a beautiful throw to Brown, a missed PAT and a failed 2-point try later in the quarter left Philly chasing a deficit they didn't have the weapons to erase with time running out. ESPN.com. This game also exposed deeper problems. The Eagles' run defense that looked stout weeks ago suddenly felt porous, and the offensive balance that used to mask wrinkles in the line was gone. Saquon Barkley looked ordinary, past season's wear showing in fewer explosive bursts, and the passing game's timing suffered when the run game couldn't be trusted to keep the chains moving. A team that prided itself on finishing possessions and squeezing the life out of opponents instead gave Chicago second chances to stay aggressive and creative. Philadelphia Eagles. The fan reaction was visceral and instant. Booing started early, swelled at halftime, and by the fourth quarter, many fans had voted with their feet, walking out, abandoning a team that had suddenly become a disappointment on a night when the national spotlight was supposed to celebrate them. That's a public confidence meter, and it's reading alarm. When your crowd gives up on you mid-game, it's not just one loss, it's a trust deficit. Sky Sports. So where do the Eagles go from here? Short term, they'll regroup during a mini-bye and try to patch the obvious leaks, tighten clock management, shore up the run defense, and resync Hurts with his weapons. Longer term, the staff will have to answer whether play calling is an issue of scheme, personnel, or execution. Sirianni's "we're not changing the play caller" stance buys stability, but it also raises stakes. If things don't improve, patience will look less like a plan and more like stubbornness. NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. For Eagles fans, the playoff picture still looks survivable. This team is almost certainly going to be in the postseason, but expectations are no longer automatic. The pressure shifts from maintaining dominance to salvaging legitimacy. Philly must clean up fundamentals fast because the NFL doesn't reward narrative, it rewards performance. And right now, a team that once made the Tush Push look unstoppable is struggling to get 1 yard when it matters most. Rotors. If you're watching for the next move, watch offensive play calling agnostically. Is there simplification, more quick game? And monitor how the run defense fundamentals are corrected, edge setting, gap discipline, tackling. And maybe most importantly, watch whether the crowd's faith is restored, because fans who left early don't come back until the tape shows them a team that deserves seats again.